This is Kelly Davis, your host of the Untold Miracles podcast, and today I am so excited for our special guest. He's an American figure skater, Olympic medalist, choreographer, winner of Dancing with the Stars, author, host of Break the Ice on YouTube, and after recently meeting him, I would add comedian to the list. He's also the first openly gay athlete to win a medal at the Winter Olympics, and he's a leading advocate and voice for the LGBTQ community. He's kind, he's hilarious, and I'm so excited for our conversation. Mr. Adam Rippon, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Kelly, how are you?
I'm so good, and I'm just so excited for our call today. Thank you for making the time, and it's just really great to meet you a few weeks ago at VidCon. You were doing a panel, and you just had this amazing sense of humor and energy and vibe, and I'm really excited for our call today.
I'm really excited, too. I remember that we got to meet for a minute, and I'm really looking forward to this chat.
Well, awesome. Well, on this podcast, we talk about miracles, and what I didn't know about you is that you were born with severe hearing loss, and you underwent surgery at Yale University just before your first birthday, allowing you to hear almost perfectly, and you also had some other things where you survived a severe respiratory condition. Tell me about what you remember about those experiences.
To be honest, when I was really young, the one thing I remember the most was being in and out of the hospital. I don't specifically remember not being able to hear, but my mom has told me stories of me being really young and, not responding to anything that she was saying. And they told me that I would need a simple surgery. And I had stents put into my tear ducts. And right after the surgery, my mom said that, once I was cleared to leave the hospital, I walked outside and then all of a sudden my face completely changed and I started looking around and it was the first time I heard the birds. And my mom said it was one of the coolest moments that she's had as a mom, seeing somebody hear for the first time. Other than that, yeah, I remember just being really sick as a young kid, always in and out of the hospital, but my health started to improve and became a sturdy adult.
Well, you are the oldest of 6 kids, and your mom was a single mom and amazing woman, and she took you ice skating with her. Tell me about that experience. Do you remember being on the ice for the first time, what that was like, and did you fall in love with the sport instantly?
Oh, I do remember the first time vividly. I remember that I was begging my whole family to go ice skating. And I was begging them to go ice skating because we had one of these cookie jars, popcorn tins that we got over the Christmas time. And there was this 18th century vignette of this old Victorian couple. And they were skating. And I was like, oh my God, I want to be just like this couple on this popcorn tin. And I remember that the woman in this pairing of a man and a woman, she was wearing a muff, which is just that circle of fabric that you put your hands into. Mm-hmm. And I told my mom, okay, well, before we go skating, I obviously need to get a muff. You're 5 years old. You don't need a muff to go to the rink.
Yes, I do, Mom.
So, yes, I did. And so I was, brokenhearted, obviously, before we even left. And then when I got on the ice and skated for the first time, I fell and was completely over it and devastated. So I actually didn't skate again for another few years.
Oh, wow.
And my first time on the ice, I did not enjoy myself.
So what made you want to get back out on the ice a couple years later?
I think when I was a little bit older, I watched it on TV, and I just wanted to get out there and try it again. I'm from Pennsylvania.
Scranton?
Yes, from Scranton, and it's cold in the winter, so it's something that you do in the wintertime is go ice skating. So I always wanted to go back.
So when did your dreams of being an Olympic skater begin? Or did you ever have those dreams, or did it just kind of happen?
When I first started skating, I think maybe within the first month or two, I had these dreams of going to the Olympics. And I started right after my 10th birthday in 1999, which is in November.
11th?
And November 11th. You do your research.
Because we have some other miracle kids born on 11/11 that I'll want to introduce you to.
Oh, I'd love to meet them. I can always use more 11/11.
Yes.
In my but yeah, I think once I started skating, it was I had those aspirations right away. I had no idea how I would achieve them or, any clue of what I would go through, but it was a dream of mine to go to the Olympics almost instantly.
How old were you when you first landed your signature move, the Rippon Lutz, which is a triple Lutz?
I actually landed it for the first time, maybe, I'm trying to think. It was probably 2009 was the first time I ever tried it and landed it in competition. And it was just something that nobody had really done before, where you had like changed the arm position. And I was trying to do something that would make me stand out a little bit amongst all of my other competitors.
Well, I want to talk about the 2014 season. You had struggled to qualify at the Worlds for the Olympics. I want to know how you were able to bounce back from that.
In 2014, I was 24, and in skating years, it's pretty old. I was an alternate for the team in 2011, and then in 2014, I just did not skate well that season. And I didn't make the team again. And in that moment, it kind of all came flashing before my eyes that like, oh my God, I don't know if I'll ever go to the Olympics. It just might be something that never happens. And so after that qualifying process, I was really devastated and I was depressed and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know if I wanted to continue skating. I thought about retiring. It was a long process, but I think being in that rock bottom state really pushed me to reach further than I ever would have thought to reach before. And I think that I skated the whole next season, the whole beginning of it, like I just didn't know what I was doing. In the last one, the last part of it, I remember going to the national championships in 2015, and I just had this mindset of, you know what, this might be the last time I ever skate, but like if it's the last time I ever skate, I'm gonna, make it the best ever. Even if there are mistakes, I'm not gonna give up. I'm gonna push. I'm gonna just give it my all and not have any regrets. And it was sort of the first time that I actually really felt it in my core that, no regrets doesn't mean going and doing something perfectly. No regrets means giving it 100% no matter the result and being proud of that, knowing that you gave your best. And that's what no regrets means. That's what I started to do as an athlete.
So few people make it to the Olympics, but they have the dreams to make it. And you were the oldest Olympic figure skater to make the Olympic debut since 1936. I mean, you really beat the odds. What advice do you have for people who have odds stacked against them or have people who say they can't do something?
My advice is to not pay attention to what other people have done before. When you see other people do something for the very first time, it seems like an impossible feat and nobody will catch up. But when somebody does something impossible, it basically opens up someone else's imagination of what is possible, of how far they could go potentially. And when that happens, what is humanly possible really changes in our brains. And what we think can be done and what we think we're even possible of doing in our wildest dreams changes. And we see ourselves differently. And I really believe that the reason that I was able to go to the Olympics and qualify at 28 and the oldest first timer in many, many years, I think I owed it to letting go of the insecurity I felt of getting older in my sport, where, every year there's just someone else who's so talented, pushing the envelope and so good and young. And I'm getting older and it's typically not normal that you would improve or have the best, years of your career, 24 to 28. That's sort of like your victory lap years. Like you were very good and you're kind of maintaining. You don't drastically get better. and I needed to drastically get better to make the Olympic team. And it hadn't been really done before. So I didn't know if it was possible. And what I did was I just kind of slowly, and it was a long process, but let go of all those hangups and insecurities. And I wore it like a badge of honor almost. Like, I've gone through all of this and I have experience, which my competitors don't have. So I tried to see it in a positive light.
Speaking of experience, I mean, you faced a lot of injuries in your career, sprained ankles, warm-up collisions, and in one injury, actually, you had to withdraw from the 2017 U.S. Championships. What was the biggest life lesson that those injuries taught you?
When I withdrew from the 2017 U.S. Championships, I broke my foot.
Oh, gosh.
And it was like a terrifying moment because it was actually 1 year out from the Olympics. And, where I was just thinking like, oh my God, here we are. I just had won my national title in 2016. It was 1 year out from the games. I was skating better than ever, and I break my foot. And so now it's like everything I had worked towards might not happen. But where I was mentally, whether I went to the Olympics or not, didn't change how I thought of myself as a person, which was so important to me.
That makes me want to cry because there's so many of us that need that lesson in life, that our worth isn't determined by what we do and don't do or succeed in sometimes. It's the lesson we learn along the way.
100%. And I think that for so long, my worth as a person was tied to being an Olympian. And I truly believe another reason why I was able to go to the Olympics and why I qualified and why I was ready was because my worth was not tied to being an Olympian at all. If I never win, I would not change the kind of person that I am. I wouldn't think of myself as less than. I now, as an adult, can see the rarity of going to the Olympics, of, being born in the right time, having the right coaching, having a good season. There's so many factors to going. And it doesn't mean that, you're less of an athlete or less of a person. It's just, it's one of those crazy, good timing moments. And I think when I let go of that fear of it not happening and also being okay if it didn't happen, that was the most important thing for me.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. Well, America fell in love with you at the 2018 Winter Olympics, and NBC wanted to hire you to commentate during the games, but I read that you turned it down just so you could support your other athletes in their competition. But I want to know, of all the amazing things that happened in South Korea, what is that one moment outside of getting the bronze medal that meant the most to you?
When I think of the Olympics, I have other friends of mine who are medalists and winners of the Olympics. And before I went, I had conversations with them and I asked them, about their experiences and what was that one moment for them. And they all told me that moment for them was standing on the podium and getting that Olympic medal. They said that, that's the moment they had been waiting for their entire life. And I remember in my process of getting ready for the Olympics, I was doing a lot of different interviews, and I would speak really candidly with every person that I talked with, and I think that it's not something that you normally see from an Olympic athlete going into the games. I think the usual talk is I'm trying to focus on my game, like I'm feeling great, I'm working really hard. And, when somebody would ask me if, Adam, how are you feeling? Are you nervous? I'd be like, hell yeah, I'm really nervous. And, it would throw people off a little bit. And I was having a lot of fun because I was able to make people laugh. I was able to really engage with people. And, I remember being on the podium and thinking, like, this is such an incredible moment to share with my teammates and my friends and my family. But I can't wait until I get to do more interviews and get to really engage with like more people and make more people laugh. And that was the moment that I realized that like all of this was, I'd always been sort of like the person who made everybody laugh in a group. I was always entertaining people. When we would go to competitions, I would like almost have like a whole stand-up routine in front of all of my friends and all the officials and everything when we'd all be in the same hotel. And it was always sort of a passion of mine to be a performer. And in that moment, it was sort of like, oh my God, skating has always been that outlet for me to be a performer. But this is like the moment I've been waiting for my entire life.
Well, and I remember too watching you during those games and just your interviews, and you were funny, like so funny. And that is really why America fell in love with you, in addition to your talent on the ice.
Oh, thanks.
Well, you retired in 2018 and you do choreography and help other skaters. Has it been hard to step away from the sport that you were doing since you were 10 years old?
Well, you know what? I really feel like I've been so lucky to be so busy where I don't have a lot of time to go to the rink. And when I do my very best to just grab my skates, throw them in the car and get to a rink. But I have so many friends who are still competing that, like, if they do ask for me to help them put together a routine, I like to make myself be available for that. And I enjoy it. And I think that I don't get to skate very often now, that it's almost a favor to me that they ask me to get back to the ice again, because it's something I love to do. And I want to be a part of it somehow for, the rest of my life. And I don't want to lose it. And when I have the chance to do choreography for other people, it's an opportunity in a way for me to stay connected to something that, I love.
Hi, I'm Audrey, 2019 National Champion for Children's Miracle Network Hospitals. Kids like me deserve every chance to heal. At your local CMN hospital, they get the best hope for a miracle by getting the best possible care. And you can help too.
Since 1992, RE/MAX agents and offices have helped millions of kids like Audrey heal through awareness events and donations. When buying or selling a home in August, support your local Children's Miracle Network hospital by using a RE/MAX Miracle agent.
Thank you.
Figure skater, Olympic medalist, choreographer, winner of Dancing with the Stars, author, host of Break the Ice on YouTube. He's kind, he's hilarious, and I'm so excited for our conversation. Mr. Adam Rippon, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much.
You were the first openly gay American man to win at the Olympics, and some might consider your path very brave. I want to know if you consider it brave and what being brave means to you.
I don't consider it brave. I actually did it because in 2014, Russia had this anti-gay propaganda law. And I didn't say anything, but I didn't qualify. And in that process of, being in that rock bottom place, I wanted to kind of be that role model that I felt like I didn't have when I was growing up. And so I decided to come out in, I think, the fall of 2015. I did it mostly to be able to talk to my younger self, to say that all of those years of being confused and feeling like you don't belong, I wanted to be that figure that I didn't see. So I almost did it just as a way to kind of make peace with myself. I remember when I came out, it was not a big story. I wasn't an Olympian. I wasn't a national champion yet. It wasn't for any sort of media attention. It was really just, I felt like sometimes, when you're a gay person in sports, it sometimes feels like there's not a place for you. And I think that it's just that the visibility is so important. And so that's why I wanted to come out. And I was very lucky to have the opportunity to come out when there was not a lot of attention on me. And I was able to do it kind of privately, even though it was public. And I'm grateful for that, because when, I got to meet the world at the Olympics, I was very firmly on my feet.
So that was 2015. Now we're in 2019, and you have helped raise $50,000 for GLAAD's youth programs. You have received the Human Rights Campaign Visibility Award. You co-host the Trevor Live Gala, which helped raise more than $2 million. What do you hope to accomplish today through your advocacy?
What I hope is that my coming out affects at least another person to feel more comfortable in their own skin. I remember being really young and just not feeling like I belonged. I always felt a little different. And there was nothing, really that different about me than, from me to anyone else. And that feeling was, I remember, realizing that, okay, I think I might be gay. And I remember thinking to myself, this is just something I'm not ever going to share with anybody. And when I think about that, it makes me really sad for that young kid that felt like it was something that you needed to hide or be embarrassed about. Anybody listening who's questioning or in the closet or doesn't know what to do, I can tell you from my own experience that when I was in that place of not knowing what to do, I really said that, you know what, I can't live with this anymore. I have to say something to someone. And that's when I started telling my friends and my family. And if me being gay, which is such a small part of me and one of the most insignificant fun facts about me, if something so small is going to affect somebody's opinion about me, they weren't having in my life. And I was very lucky. None of my friends and no one in my family was, gave me a negative response. And that's not the case for everybody. But the one thing I wasn't expecting was like the family I gained. The LGBTQ plus people that I've met have become like family to me. The number one thing was that I just felt like I had lost 20 pounds after telling one person. It just was such a weight off my shoulders. And it's something that, I didn't think of, but it was an awareness that I had every single day, thinking like, are people watching? Do they know? Do they think that I know, that they know, that we know? And it's just never ending, like, food chain of anxiety. And when I finally just said it out loud to friends and family, it was freeing.
Wow. I just love you sharing that. That was going to be my next question is what advice would you have? But thank you, because I know that's going to help a lot of people. You have a new book coming out September 24th, Beautiful on the Outside. I want you to tell me where you got the title from and what we can look forward to reading in that book.
Well, I've had so much fun putting the book together. And the one thing I really wanted to do was make a really funny book. And I wanted to share my story. And I've also had friends that have written books, and their experiences have been, Adam, it's a very therapeutic thing to go through, to, go over your story and write it out. It was truly exactly that. It was like therapy. And I remember going through everything. I wanted a title that was sort of tongue-in-cheek. And I think in skating, I said, beautiful on the outside, because usually the saying is beautiful on the inside. And I said beautiful on the outside because in skating, especially in a sport where you're in a costume, where you're performing in front of, thousands of people, in front of, 9 judges, that no matter what's going on, you have to have this exterior that everything going on is perfect and great. No matter how you feel or what you might be thinking, you can't let anybody see your hand. It also ties into being the kind of athlete that I was. And I think all athletes and all people, we put up this exterior so that we might not seem weak. And it's sort of what that, beautiful on the outside means.
You recently appeared in Taylor Swift's new video, You Need to Calm Down, and there's some really fun outtakes from your shoot that day that I watched yesterday. What was the most memorable part of that day for you?
I think just being involved in such a cool project and someone who has such a big voice, really using it to help a lot of other people. She did not tell us what the song was. We never heard it. We didn't know what the project was.
Oh, wow.
But, Taylor reached out to those of us who were in the video. Of course, we all said yes. And, we could put a few things together while we were there. And we ran into a few other people while we were all filming. But we didn't see the whole group of who would be in this video. We didn't hear the song. And then it was really touching to hear the song and to see who was involved. And just with, really, again, somebody with such huge platform to use it for change, and with, putting messages of the Equality Act at the end of the video is just, it's incredibly powerful.
she's just an amazing woman who I admire, as I admire you for using your platform to help others. And it matters. You just did a video. I don't know if it was just, but I watched it recently on your YouTube channel. And it was really cool because you showed all of your white ink tattoos. And I didn't even know about white ink tattoos. And at first I thought it was a joke. So I'm like, are there really white ink tattoos? And then all of a sudden you start showing them. And it was amazing because they all, most of them anyway, have a cool meaning behind them. Which one is your favorite?
I have one that I always really like, but I kind of forget I have it all the time. I have like a little candlestick on my forearm, and I always forget I have it. And every time I see it, I'm like, oh my God, that's so cute. And but my favorite one is the first one I've ever gotten, and it was an arrow. And I love it because I read this, like every, basic person on the internet has been on Pinterest and read an inspirational quote. But this quote really hit home for me. I got it in 2014 when I was in that really dark place. And I saw this quote: to shoot an arrow, you have to pull it back to let it go forward. The arrow is just like a reminder that your setbacks aren't setbacks. They're just launching points.
I love that. I want to know your favorite TV show outside RuPaul's Drag Race season.
Pen 15 on Hulu. It was just freaking so hilarious. And it was, I just binged the whole thing with my boyfriend. We watched almost every episode in a full day.
Speaking of your boyfriend, you met on Tinder. And what is the key to swiping right and having a successful relationship? Because a lot of people aren't as successful on Tinder and would like to be.
I mean, for the longest time, I wasn't either. And I think that when I matched with him, he's from Finland, and I was at a competition in Finland 2.5 years ago. And I was just really on to just pass some time at this competition. So I wasn't really seriously looking to meet anyone.
Right.
And I think like it, everybody always says like, oh, when you're not looking is when you meet somebody. And it was really true because, I went back to the U.S. and started training and was like, I'm never going to meet this Finnish person. But we just started talking, and then it sort of escalated to talking every single day and really reaching out to each other. And it escalated very naturally. And, I've been really lucky and really like so grateful because he's such a wonderful person. And, yeah, I think that my number one tip is if you're looking for somebody, stop. Just focus on yourself. And when you are good with yourself, you will meet somebody and they will just fit into your life perfectly.
That's great. Thank you. All right. If you could go to lunch with any celebrity, dead or alive, tomorrow, who would that be and why? I
would love to go to dinner with Joan Rivers. I feel like she would be somebody who, I really admired the things that she's done. I thought she was hysterically funny and, just such a good business person. I feel like I would love to go to dinner with her. And also one of my all-time favorite comedians is Sarah Silverman. So I'm still dying to meet Sarah Silverman. Okay, well, we'll send Sarah Silverman this podcast and set up the meeting. Yes, we will. On it. Thank you, Kelly. You get it. Because we'll say, hey, we'd love to have you on the podcast. And, oh, by the way, you should meet Adam. It's one of my best interviews ever. And it really is. I'm so grateful for the wisdom and advice I've been learning from you today. Okay, I want to know the motto you like to live by. Two favorite quotes. My one is, that the one about the arrow, to shoot it to let it go forward, you need to pull it back. My other favorite quote is, what would you do if you weren't afraid? And I think there have been so many times in my life where I'm afraid that I won't be good at it, so I don't try. Or I'm, it's something I've never done before, so I think I, might embarrass myself. And when we let go of those fears is when we really, reach places that we didn't think were possible. Through the really good experiences I've had of letting go of those doubts is when I've really reached further than I thought that I could ever reach. I know me personally, I think to myself, like, oh my God, well, maybe I'm not possible, but like maybe Adam Rippon is possible. Ooh, that's good. That's good. I want to know the greatest lesson that you learned from your mom. The greatest lesson I learned from my mom was to verbalize your thanks to people who help you and to work hard. I remember that there were so many times, where my mom just really instilled in me that, you don't get anywhere unless you put the work in. And it was just so ingrained in me that I think probably the last 5 years of my skating career, I don't think that there was a person that worked harder than me, and I made sure of it. If I wasn't the best, I was going to at least be like a legendary hard worker. And that's the way I trained. I trained like it was, my life depended on it. But it became, working hard became like my passion. Something that my mom really taught me was so important.
Okay, fast forward 100 years, you're no longer here. What do you hope people remember you for?
I hope that they remember how cute I was. I hope.
You are pretty unforgettable, so just so you know, that's probably going to happen.
Well, I hope that I've made a lot of people laugh. I hope that I've made a lot of people feel more comfortable in their own skin. And I hope that I've given a lot of people the confidence to go after what they think might be impossible.
What is the thing in your life right now, today, that you are most excited about?
The future. I think the one thing I'm most excited about is for what the future holds. I think I've had so many great opportunities in this past year and a half since the Olympics, that I really feel like the best is still yet to come. It feels like this brand new chapter of my life. I'm turning 30 in November.
Woo-hoo.
It just, it's like a big, a milestone year. Like I'm almost 2 years out from Olympics, and my life has changed so drastically. So I'm most excited for the future.
What was your most incredible moment other than getting the Mirrorball trophy on Dancing with the Stars?
Aside from the Mirrorball trophy was probably
winning the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, winning the whole thing was fantastic, but I think friendships that I made were just so invaluable. And I stayed really close with my dance partner, Jenna Johnson, and her husband, Val Shmerkovsky. I guess she's Jenna Shmerkovsky now. And but I've stayed really close with them and my other friends that I've met through Dancing with the Stars. And it was just, those friendships have been so, I'm so grateful for them.
Well, before I ask you my last question, I want to know where people can follow you and get more of your content.
For more of my content, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ADARIPP. And then you can follow me on my YouTube channel as well, which is, I think, Adam Rippon. I mean, just search Adam Rippon. If something will come up, you'll find it.
Okay, cool. If there were 3 miracles that you could create in the world today, what would that look like for you?
This is a tough question. I think my first miracle would be that that people would get rid of preconceived notions for themselves of what they think is possible or where they think that they're only allowed to go. I think there are so many people that limit themselves to so many incredible experiences that they could have if they just opened up their mind a bit of what they thought they were able to do. And they didn't limit their own abilities. I think another miracle would be I'm kind of pushing aside, obviously world peace,
right.
Get rid of bigotry and racism and world hunger. I'm trying to think more I'm thinking that you're giving these wishes out and that somebody's already covered that. So
right.
It's now
yes.
I'm trying to the B level wishes. So I would get rid of the preconceived notions. I think my next one would be to give people the power to laugh at themselves. I think I've used it as a coping mechanism my whole life. Mm-hmm. But when I'm able to really laugh at myself, it breaks down those walls and I'm not embarrassed. And I think sometimes we get so embarrassed and we think, oh my God, what is somebody going to think of me? Mm-hmm. When really, in reality, nobody thinks any less of you if you make a mistake, but we're so afraid not to be perfect that I think that, sometimes we feel like, oh God, it was like a bad experience. I don't want to continue. That would be my second miracle. And my third miracle would be, this is my last miracle. This is going to be like my legacy, I'm going to think.
Okay, I love it.
My third miracle would be that people eat more vegetables.
Because then we'll all be healthier, Adam.
I agree. And you know what? I feel like, that's really good for the planet. It's good for our bodies. And I think like, the way a lot of people eat, it would be a miracle if they had more vegetables.
Oh, I agree with you. Well, I am so incredibly grateful for your time today. I promise you I'm going to listen to this over and over because you've dropped so many truth bombs that I think are going to help so many people, including me. And we are so grateful for the miracles that you create in this world.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I had such a great chat with you, Kelly. I had so much fun.
Today's episode is brought to you by RE/MAX. Since 1992, RE/MAX agents and offices have helped Children's Miracle Network Hospital support millions of kids each year, mostly by participating in the Miracle Home program and making a donation in their client's name after each home or property transaction. Miracle Home yard signs also serve as an indicator of the agent's commitment to helping kids in their very own neighborhood. This month, RE/MAX is celebrating its annual Month of Miracles. Throughout the month, agents will host fundraisers and events in support of Children's Miracle Network hospitals.